Hello everyone, I'm Darren again. Today I'm continuing in the short series looking at the common characteristics associated with psychopathy. Today I'm going to focus on the callous nature of psychopaths and how that manifests in relationships, workplaces, on social media, and in everyday life. But just to remind you, some of the common characteristics of psychopathy include persistent antisocial behaviour. There's disinhibited egotistical traits. There's a lack of empathy for others. They lack remorse. And of course, there's being callous. Now, being callous could be defined as not having sympathy or feeling for other people. There's a disregard for other people's needs, their well-being, their feelings, sometimes even their safety. Now, usually the callousness can be easy to spot. There can be cruel, domineering, unkind behaviour or language. But psychopaths can be very charming, which means they aren't always easy to spot at first. They tend to just blend into society. So they can be your work colleague, your partner, your neighbour, or even someone you follow or interact with on social media. In their interactions, their relationships, they can say all the right things, do all the right things. They can make someone feel as if they're the centre of the universe. But the charm is often superficial and manipulative. Once they've got what they wanted, once they've achieved their goal, they can suddenly change. They can become cold, distant, and emotionally abusive, and their actions often leave emotional and psychological scars on their victims. Psychopaths tend to see people as tools to be used for their own gain, and they disregard them whenever they're no longer useful. Just like a parasite will drain the host dry and then just dump the host in search of a new one. According to psychologist Dr. Robert Hare, psychopaths are not disordered in the traditional sense. They know exactly what they're doing, they just don't care. Depending on the individual, the situation, I would suggest that in some cases, yes, they know exactly what they're doing, but they enjoy it. And here we would see a sadistic side to them. Quite commonly with psychopathy, we see other personality traits present as well. Traits such as sadism. There can also be narcissism and Machiavellianism. And these four personality traits combined are what's known as the dark tetrad. And with the dark tetrad, what you often see is someone who can be ruthless and relentless in their pursuit of control and domination. They believe they are special and they're entitled to treat others any way they like. The end justifies the means. And they can also gain pleasure from doing so. So some of the ways the callousness can manifest can be firstly in how they deliver bad news to someone. Now they could just be blunt, brutal, or harsh, and here we would see an insensitivity to other people's feelings. The impact of the bad news has nothing to do with them. Sometimes they're not just insensitive, but they're indifferent. They either ignore or disregard the other person's feelings. But there are times when it's not just being thoughtless, and again, this could be when other things are co-occurring. Sometimes they might feel a twisted pleasure in seeing someone's upset or their distress, and they might even exaggerate the bad news for more effect. Now, if they were to hear of something terrible that has happened to someone they hold a grudge against, well, you might see them become quite excited at the thought of their perceived enemy being in distress. They want to know every detail and want every update. It's like they're getting a twisted sense of pleasure out of it. Now, another sadistic side to the callousness can be how they deliberately invalidate other people's feelings or the severity of what has happened to them, and they do this knowing it will cause more distress. Making fun of, playing down, or ignoring the pain of others is a way of devaluing and dehumanizing them. Next, because of their lack of empathy and disregard for others, they can have a cold and detached attitude towards those that they hurt. They feel neither regret nor remorse. Other people's feelings or experiences mean nothing to them. They can also be dismissive or belittling towards the concerns or opinions of others. They don't really care about other people's needs, their rights, their suffering, their pain, unless it serves their agenda. Moving on, psychopaths lack emotional connection. In relationships, partners are often subjected to dominating behaviours, belittling or mocking language, and a lot of insensitive remarks. They can be cold and indifferent towards other people's needs, dismissive of their concerns, and they never apologise. Now, they can be quite beguiling at first. They can charm with their promises, their acts of kindness and generosity. They're the perfect partner until they get what they want. And then people see the real them. They are ultimately self-serving. They can be cold, hard-hearted, cruel, and insensitive. Now, an example could be even when others are exhausted, they are in pain, they are ill, they have no resources left, this psychopath can still make their demands because partners, families, friends, everyone else are there for their benefit. Now, in the workplace, psychopaths are not always harsh, bullying tyrants. They can be quite subtle and calculating, yet they're still ruthless and cutthroat. They know how to exploit rules, the system, their fellow co-workers, and have little concern for the consequences. In broader society, their callous nature allows them to rise to positions of influence without any concern for the harm they caused on their way to the top, or indeed, any harm they'll cause once they get there. Many psychopaths know how to exploit social structures and the vulnerability of others for their own benefit. And they can be quick to anger or exhibit other aggressive behaviours if they feel challenged or criticised. Now, on social media, psychopathic behaviours like trolling, bullying, and harassment have become quite rampant. According to a study published in Personality and Individual Differences, individuals who scored high with traits of psychopathy were more likely to engage in online trolling and manipulative behaviour on social media platforms. Social media has given these individuals a place to manipulate, sometimes harass and bully others from a distance, avoiding accountability while they're spreading harm. And they show no remorse for the mental anguish they cause. So to summarise, psychopaths can be callous for different reasons and in different ways. They lack empathy and compassion, so they don't understand or care about the impact of their actions on others. They tend to be self-serving and treat others as objects or tools to be used for their own personal gain. They can be prone to conflict, can be cruel and antagonistic. In some cases, they can take pleasure in the pain and misery of others, either inflicting it themselves in order to dominate, or they just enjoy seeing other people's discomfort. And due to their manipulative and deceitful nature, they're not always easy to spot at first. Many people, groups, and organizations don't realize they're dealing with a psychopath until they're on the wrong end of their callous nature. So that's a brief outline of the callous nature of psychopaths. If there's anything I've missed, anything you might like to add, please use the comment section. There are some interesting conversation starts from these videos. Now I will add the research I've looked at in the description of this video if you'd like more information. But if you find this topic to be interesting, please consider subscribing, and until next time, thanks for watching.